There is something deeply profound about the way the Holy Spirit speaks. It is not loud, it is not forceful, and it does not compete with the noise of the world. Instead, his voice comes gently, so gently that if you are not attentive, you might miss it entirely. And yet, within that gentleness is a power that can completely transform the direction of your life. So many people are waiting for a dramatic sign, a sudden revelation, something undeniable and overwhelming. But more often than not, the Holy Spirit does not work that way. He moves in stillness. He speaks in quiet moments, when your heart is at rest, when your mind is no longer racing, when you are willing to pause and simply be present. It is in those moments that you begin to sense something deeper than your own thoughts, a whisper that doesn't come from you, yet resonates within you. You may feel a subtle nudge guiding you to take a step you hadn't planned. You may sense a quiet prompting to go in a direction that doesn't fully make sense yet. Or perhaps there is a gentle restraint, a feeling that holds you back when something doesn't align with your purpose. This is how the Holy Spirit leads, not by force but by invitation. The challenge is that we live in a world filled with constant noise. There are opinions, expectations, fears, distractions, voices coming from every direction, all demanding your attention. And in the midst of all that noise, the gentle voice of the Holy Spirit can easily be overlooked, not because he is absent, but because we have not created the space to hear him. You must understand this. The ability to hear his voice is not about striving harder, but about becoming quieter. It is about learning to step away from the chaos, even if just for a few moments, and allowing your spirit to settle. When everything within you becomes still, you begin to recognize what has been there all along. There is a difference between your own thoughts and the leading of the Holy Spirit. Your thoughts can be driven by fear, urgency, or emotion. But when the Holy Spirit speaks, there is a calmness to it. Even when he is calling you into something unknown, there is a quiet assurance that cannot be explained. It does not overwhelm you, it draws you. And this is where many miss their direction. They expect clarity to come through intensity, but the Holy Spirit reveals purpose through intimacy. The more you learn to listen, the more familiar his voice becomes. What once felt uncertain begins to feel unmistakable. What once seemed like coincidence begins to reveal itself as divine guidance. You will start to notice how he speaks in the smallest ways. A thought that comes at just the right moment. A sense of peace when you consider one path, and unease when you consider another. A quiet knowing that cannot be justified logically, yet feels deeply true. These are not random experiences. These are moments of divine leading. But it requires trust. It requires you to value that gentle voice enough to follow it even when it doesn't make sense to others. Because the Holy Spirit is not trying to impress the world, he is trying to guide your life. And as you begin to respond to his voice, something remarkable happens. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes. The more you follow, the stronger that inner sensitivity grows. What once felt faint becomes a steady source of direction. You begin to walk not in confusion but in quiet confidence, knowing that you are being led step by step. Your life purpose is not hidden behind complexity. It is revealed through relationship. And that relationship is nurtured in stillness, in listening, in being willing to hear the voice that does not shout but gently calls. And if you truly desire to be led into your purpose, then you must learn to quiet everything else, so you can hear the whisper that has been guiding you all along. And as you begin to recognize that gentle whisper, something else becomes clear in the way the Holy Spirit leads you. He does not drive you with pressure, he draws you with peace. There is a profound difference between being pushed and being led. The world often pushes. It tells you to hurry, to prove yourself, to make something happen before time runs out. It creates a sense of urgency that feels heavy, almost suffocating. You feel like if you don't act now, you will miss everything. But the Holy Spirit does not work through that kind of pressure. His leading carries a completely different atmosphere. When he is guiding you, even if the path ahead is unfamiliar, there is a quiet peace that settles deep within you. It doesn't mean you have all the answers, it doesn't mean you see the full picture, but there is something steady, something calm, something that assures you that you are not moving alone. That peace becomes your confirmation. Now, this is important to understand, because sometimes the direction he leads you into will stretch you. It may take you beyond what feels comfortable, it may even challenge your expectations. But even in that stretching, there will not be confusion, there will not be panic, there will be a settled knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. Confusion is not his voice. Fear that paralyzes you is not his voice. That inner turmoil that leaves you restless and unsettled, that is not how he leads. The Holy Spirit brings clarity, even when the journey is unfolding one step at a time. He brings peace, even when the outcome is not yet visible. You may have experienced moments where you were trying to force something to happen. You kept pushing, striving, trying to make it work, but inside there was tension, there was unease. Something didn't sit right, even if everything looked good on the outside. That is often a sign that you are moving ahead of his leading. Because when the Holy Spirit is truly guiding you, you don't have to force doors open, you don't have to manipulate circumstances. There is a natural unfolding that takes place. One step leads to another, and even when challenges arise, that inner peace remains intact. It becomes your anchor. And sometimes his peace will lead you to pause, not to move forward, not to chase an opportunity, but to wait. And waiting can feel uncomfortable, especially in a world that tells you that movement is everything. But there is purpose even in the waiting when it is led by him, because his timing is just as important as his direction. You see, peace is not just a feeling, it is a guide. It is a signal that you are aligned with his will. When you learn to recognize it, you begin to rely on it. You stop being driven by external pressure, and you start being led from within. There will be moments when choices stand before you. Both may seem reasonable, both may appear good, but one will carry a deeper peace. It may not always be the easier option. It may not always be the one that makes the most sense logically, but it will be the one that resonates within your spirit in a way that cannot be ignored. And as you grow in your relationship with the Holy Spirit, you will begin to trust that peace more than your own understanding. You will start to move with a quiet confidence, not because everything is certain, but because you know the one who is leading you is faithful. The absence of pressure becomes a sign. The presence of peace becomes your direction. And even when the world around you feels chaotic, you remain steady, because you are not being led by noise, you are being led by his presence. This is how purpose unfolds, not through striving, not through anxiety, not through relentless effort, but through a surrendered heart that is willing to follow peace wherever it leads. And when you learn to follow that peace, you will find yourself walking exactly where you were meant to be. And as you begin to follow that peace, something even deeper begins to happen within you. Something that changes not just your direction, but your very desires. Because the Holy Spirit does not only guide you externally, he works within you, gently transforming your heart until what you want begins to align with what you were created for. At first, many people think purpose is something they must search for somewhere far away, as if it is hidden, distant, or difficult to reach. But what they often don't realize is that the Holy Spirit is already at work within them, shaping their inner world long before they fully understand where they are going. He begins to place new desires in your heart, desires that feel different, deeper, more meaningful than anything that came before. You may notice that things which once satisfied you no longer hold the same weight. Pursuits that once felt important begin to lose their significance, and in their place, something new begins to rise. It may start as a small interest, a quiet pull towards something you can't quite explain. It may not seem impressive or grand at first, but it carries a sense of purpose that feels unmistakable. This is how the Holy Spirit aligns your life. He doesn't force you into a path that feels foreign to who you are. Instead, he reshapes who you are becoming so that your purpose flows naturally from within you. What he calls you to do begins to resonate with who you are at your core. There is a beautiful harmony in this process. Your gifts, your passions, your experiences, things that once seemed random or disconnected, begin to come together in a way that makes sense. You start to see that nothing was wasted. Every step, every season, even the difficult ones, were preparing you for something greater. And the more you yield to his leading, the clearer this alignment becomes. You begin to feel drawn towards certain paths, certain opportunities, certain ways of serving that bring a deep sense of fulfillment, not a temporary excitement, but a lasting sense of rightness. It feels as though you are stepping into something you were always meant to walk in, but this transformation requires trust. Because sometimes the desires he places within you may not match what others expect of you. They may not fit the patterns that the world celebrates. And there can be a temptation to ignore them, to push them aside in favor of something more familiar or more accepted. Yet the Holy Spirit continues to work patiently, consistently, reminding you of what has been placed inside your heart. That quiet passion does not disappear. It remains, growing stronger over time, calling you gently towards something more. And this is where surrender becomes essential. You must be willing to let go of the version of life you thought you wanted in order to embrace the life that is being formed within you. Because your true purpose is not something you create on your own, it is something you discover as you allow him to shape you. When your desires begin to align with his will, there is a sense of unity within you. You are no longer divided between what you feel and what you know is right. There is a wholeness, a clarity, a deep inner agreement that brings strength to your steps. You no longer have to force yourself into purpose. You no longer have to struggle to stay on the path. Instead, you move forward with a willing heart, because what you are doing is no longer just an obligation. It has become a calling that lives within you. And this is the quiet miracle of his work. He leads you not only by guiding your steps, but by transforming your desires until your heart and his purpose begin to move as one. And when your desires begin to reflect his will, you will no longer have to search for your purpose because you will be living it. And as your heart begins to align, you may expect that everything will suddenly become clear, that the full picture of your life will unfold all at once. But this is not how the Holy Spirit leads. He does not overwhelm you with the entire journey. Instead, he reveals your purpose one step at a time, in ways so simple that they can easily be overlooked. There is a tendency within us to want certainty before we move. We want to see the destination before we take the first step. We want assurance that everything will work out before we say yes. But the Holy Spirit invites you into something different. He calls you to trust him in the small beginnings, in the quiet acts of obedience that may not seem significant on their own. You may feel a gentle prompting to do something simple, to reach out to someone, to begin something you've been putting off, to take a step that feels almost too small to matter. And it is in those moments that many hesitate because they are looking for something greater, something more obvious, something that feels like purpose in a grand sense. But purpose rarely begins with something grand. It begins with willingness. It begins with saying yes to what is right in front of you, even when it doesn't seem connected to anything larger. The Holy Spirit uses these small steps to shape your path, to prepare you for what lies ahead, and to build your confidence in his leading. What may seem like a minor decision today can become a defining moment tomorrow. A single act of obedience can open doors you never expected. A small step taken in faith can lead to a path that unfolds far beyond what you could have imagined. But none of it happens without that first step. And this is where trust deepens. Because when you follow him in the small things, you begin to see how faithfully he guides you. You begin to recognize that he is not asking you to figure everything out. He is simply asking you to follow. There will be times when the step he is asking you to take does not make sense in the moment. It may feel insignificant. It may feel disconnected from your idea of purpose. But later, as you look back, you will begin to see how each step was part of something much greater. What once seemed random reveals itself as intentional. What once felt unclear becomes part of a larger story. The Holy Spirit does not rush this process. He is patient. He knows that each step is not only moving you forward, but also shaping who you are becoming along the way. Because your purpose is not just about where you are going, it is about who you are becoming as you get there. And so he teaches you to walk before he asks you to run. He teaches you to trust in small moments before he places greater responsibility in your hands. He builds your character through simple acts of obedience, strengthening your ability to recognize his voice and respond to it. If you overlook the small steps, you may miss the very path that leads to your purpose. But if you embrace them, if you begin to see value in every prompting, every quiet nudge, every opportunity to say yes, you will find yourself moving forward with a sense of direction that cannot be explained by logic alone. There is no wasted step when you are being led by the Holy Spirit. Even the moments that seem ordinary carry meaning. Even the steps that feel uncertain are guiding you towards something intentional. So do not wait for everything to be clear. Do not wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. Respond to what he is placing before you now. Trust him in the simplicity of the next step. Because your life purpose is not revealed all at once. It is uncovered step by step as you choose to follow. And it is in those small, faithful steps that your greater purpose begins to unfold. And as you continue to take those small, faithful steps, something begins to happen that brings a deeper sense of assurance to your journey. You start to notice that the direction you are sensing is not appearing just once or in a single moment, but again and again in ways that are gentle yet persistent. This is how the Holy Spirit confirms his leading, through repetition that settles into your spirit over time. At first, you may question what you are sensing. You may wonder if it is simply your own thought, your own desire, your own imagination, and that hesitation is natural, but the Holy Spirit is patient. He does not demand that you understand everything immediately. Instead, he allows the same direction, the same impression, the same truth to come to you in more than one way, at more than one time, until it becomes familiar. You may hear a message that stirs something deep within you, and then later, in a completely different setting, you hear something similar again. You may feel a prompting in your heart, and then encounter words, conversations, or moments that echo that same prompting. What once felt uncertain begins to take on a sense of consistency that is difficult to ignore. This is not coincidence. This is not random. This is the gentle persistence of the Holy Spirit, confirming what he has already begun to place within you. There is something powerful about repeated direction. It removes the pressure of having to make a sudden decision based on a single moment. Instead, it allows clarity to build over time. It gives you space to discern, to reflect, to recognize what is truly being established within your spirit. And the more you pay attention, the more you begin to see these patterns. They may not always be dramatic. They may come quietly, woven into the ordinary flow of your life, but they carry a consistency that sets them apart. They return to you again and again until you can no longer dismiss them. You begin to realize that the Holy Spirit is not trying to confuse you. He is making things clear in a way that is steady and sure. He is not rushing you into uncertainty. He is leading you into confidence through confirmation. But there is a responsibility that comes with this. Because once you begin to recognize that something is being confirmed, you are invited to respond. You are no longer in a place of wondering. You are in a place of knowing. And knowing requires a decision. Sometimes people continue to wait even after they have received confirmation, hoping for something louder, something more obvious, something that removes all risk. But the Holy Spirit does not lead by eliminating every unknown. He leads by giving you enough clarity to take the next step. And when you see something repeated, when you feel that same direction rising within you over time, it is often His way of saying, "This is the path, now trust me and move forward." There is also a peace that accompanies this repetition. It is not just that you are seeing or hearing the same thing again, it is that each time it comes, it settles deeper within you. What once felt like a possibility begins to feel like a certainty. What once felt distant begins to feel near. And this is how your confidence grows, not through force but through gentle reinforcement. The Holy Spirit builds your faith by reminding you, by confirming what He has spoken, by allowing you to recognize His voice through consistency. You begin to move differently. You begin to act with quiet assurance because you are no longer relying on a single moment of inspiration. You are responding to something that has been established within you over time. So do not ignore what continues to return to your heart. Do not dismiss what keeps showing up in your spirit with quiet persistence. Pay attention to the patterns, to the repeated nudges, to the consistent direction that does not fade. Because when the Holy Spirit confirms something again and again, it is not to overwhelm you, it is to make the path unmistakably clear. And when you recognize that clarity, you will know it is time to move forward. And as that clarity settles within you, as the direction becomes unmistakable and the path begins to unfold, you are brought to a place where everything comes down to one simple, yet profound response. Will you trust and will you surrender? Because the Holy Spirit may guide you, He may confirm His direction, He may align your desires and lead you step by step, but He will never force you to follow. There is always an invitation, never a demand. And your purpose is not fulfilled simply by knowing the path. It is fulfilled by choosing to walk it. Trust is not something that appears fully formed. It grows as you respond. It deepens as you take each step, even when you do not see where it will lead. And surrender. Surrender is not about losing something. It is about releasing your need to control what was never yours to control in the first place. There is a natural desire within us to hold on tightly to our plans, our timelines, our expectations. We want to understand everything before we commit. We want guarantees before we move. But the Holy Spirit calls you into a different kind of life, a life where you are not led by certainty, but by relationship. And in that relationship, surrender becomes a daily choice. It is not a single moment, but a continual yielding. It is waking up and saying, "Not my way, but yours." It is being willing to let go of what feels safe in order to embrace what is true. There will be moments when the path feels unclear again, when questions arise, when you are tempted to take control and figure everything out on your own. But even in those moments, the Holy Spirit remains faithful. He does not withdraw His guidance because of your uncertainty. He continues to lead, gently, patiently, inviting you to trust Him again. And this is where your purpose is truly formed, not just in the direction you take, but in the posture of your heart as you take it. A surrendered heart becomes sensitive to His leading. A trusting heart becomes steady, even when circumstances shift. You begin to realize that your purpose is not something you have to strive to achieve. It is something you walk into as you remain yielded to Him. Every step taken in trust becomes part of that purpose. Every act of surrender becomes a foundation for what is being built within you. And there is a freedom that comes with this. When you release control, you are no longer burdened by the need to make everything happen. You are no longer weighed down by the fear of getting it wrong. Instead, you move with a quiet confidence, knowing that the one who is leading you is able to guide you even through your uncertainties. Surrender does not mean passivity. It does not mean doing nothing. It means moving forward with a heart that is open, responsive, and willing to follow wherever He leads. It means trusting that even when you cannot see the outcome, He sees it clearly. And as you continue to walk in that trust, something remarkable takes place. What once felt like a step of faith becomes a way of life. You begin to rely on His leading in every area, not just in moments of decision, but in the daily rhythm of your life. You find yourself no longer asking, "What do I want?" but rather, "Where are you leading?" And in that question, you discover a deeper sense of purpose than you could have ever created on your own. Because your life was never meant to be directed by your own understanding alone. It was designed to be led by the presence of the Holy Spirit, guiding you with wisdom, shaping you with love, and drawing you into the fullness of who you were created to be. And when trust and surrender become your foundation, you will not only find your purpose, you will live it fully and faithfully, one step at a time.